This is the Daily Herald, and this is the 13th of March. So, hello there, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm glad to be joined with all of these very hardworking People's Vote Remainers.
Could you introduce yourself to...
I'm Charlotte Hoagland, and I'm standing as the Liberal Democrat candidate for the parliamentary seat of Witney in West Oxfordshire.
I believe that's David Cameron's ex-seat.
Indeed, it was his seat.
Could I ask you, because he's sort of come out of the fabric this week with some comments about the current situation. What do you think of him sort of chiming in at this point?
Well, I think he's sort of trying to get recognition, although I still feel that he's really to blame for all of this mess. He got us into this mess, and all he did was fly a white flag and say, "It's now your problem."
I think that's very fair. That's very fair. Is he still living in Witney? Is he still around there?
I believe he still has a house there, yes.
And have you at any point conversed with him or had an opportunity to talk with him?
No, I've not had an opportunity to talk with him.
Fair play, fair play. And how is your campaign going, if I can ask?
It's going well, thank you very much. Right now, obviously, because we have the council elections, I want to make sure that we keep our councillors, but also gain a few more seats.
Fair play. How I mean, being a member of the Liberal Democrat Party, how are you guys sort of coping with the current deadlock that's going on in that building behind?
Well, we've been consistent and basically stuck to our lines of we would like to have a final say, people's vote. We've said it from day one because we knew that Brexit was going to be a disaster.
Okay, very fair. I think that's all for me at the moment, but thank you very much. Yeah, cheers.
Thank you.
Alex? So what's your opinion on the lack of political dominance of the Liberal Democrat Party since 2010?
Well, we've gained quite a bit, actually. I mean, with people like Layla Moran, who's really getting a lot more media coverage for us. She's done a great job, and I think actually, all of our members have done a great job. We are slowly starting to get more coverage. I think it's tough because we are a small party, but we're hoping to gain in the next general election.
Would you say that the Liberal Democrat leader, Vince Cable, currently at the moment doesn't seem to have the same traction as most of the other Liberal Democrat leaders?
Well, I would actually disagree with that. I think he's got quite a lot of experience under his belt, and therefore it brings a lot of traction. I think, obviously, at some point, we will probably have a new leadership campaign, and when that is announced, certainly I look forward to working with whomever. Whomever is the candidate. So I think, we'll see who puts their name out.
I believe Joe Swinson?
Yeah, the current deputy leader of our party.
Yes, I believe she's got a very good profile to be able to go and take over.
She certainly had quite a lot of experience, so I think she would be a good candidate. I've also heard Layla Moran's name thrown around, so we'll see who decides to put themselves forward.
Okay, I accept that Vince Cables has had, he was once in the government, he took a cabinet seat, but he doesn't seem to have quite the leadership qualities that...
Why do you say that, if I may?
It seems to be that when he goes on when he goes and does his the Lib Dem conference, it doesn't seem to come across as well as most of the other leaders. For instance, Tim Farron was very good at being able to do a speech. I do not believe Vince Cable has the same quality.
Well, I'm afraid I would have to disagree with that. I think Vince Cable is very good at public speaking. I think he's kept a lot of calm when, given this storm of Brexit, and I think to have a leader like that is quite responsible and quite useful.
Okay, so I'm guessing your views on Brexit are having a second referendum.
Well, yes, I would like to have a second referendum. I think that since the vote in 2016, a lot of people's opinions have changed, and people deserve the right to change their mind.
Would you accept, so do you want a second referendum straight away right now have a second referendum, or?
I mean, if there's a way to revoke Article 50, in other words, and stay in the EU instead of having a people's vote,
Okay.
I just would very much like to stay in the EU because I feel very European.
Okay. So you'd go against the people's will, which was decided in 2016 to leave the European Union?
Well, I think the people's will has changed. I think a lot of people's opinion has changed, and people are entitled to have that change opinion because they've seen the facts. They've seen the car industry moving out of the United Kingdom and a lot of other companies, and the job loss is just horrendous.
Let me vote again.
So I do not wish to see further downfall of this economy.
I understand very much that there is economic turmoil due to Brexit, but I would say, wouldn't it be better if we implemented a common market 2.0, which Stephen Kinnock and many cross-party across the benches are agreeing to, where we would have a Norway Plus option, implement that, then a few years later have a second referendum, then simply going against the will of the British people and revoking Article 50 and not leaving?
Well, I still think it would be better to give the voting public a second referendum to really come out and decide what they want. Whether they may decide if they would like to have a Norway style or another style. But to be honest, I think most people now realize that the best option for us is to stay in the European Union.
What if that went on indefinitely? What if we had 2 years later another one, 2 years later another one? We keep going. You know,
that's not going to happen.
I mean, if Brexiteers, Nigel Farage said if we had lost the last referendum, he would go and he would have if the Leave campaign had lost the last election, they would have gone on again and tried.
If the Leave had lost the results in 2016, we would have seen a lot more protests all around the country. Instead, these are peaceful protests, and we're standing up for our rights, our future, and the next generation, and our jobs.
So you accept that political turmoil could come about if we revoke Article 50 and have another second referendum?
Well, I don't know how much different it would be from right now.
Right. But you were saying that you think there would have been more turmoil if we had have remained in the European Union.
Well, I think that the Leave campaign would have probably started to be even more vocal than they are right now.
So doesn't that make the argument that after there has been a second referendum and we decide to remain, there would continue to be more political turmoil, they'd continue to campaign, and then there could be another referendum?
Well, I think the problem is if you keep on having these referendums, people are going to get very confused, and at what point do you stop? You have to do the best of 3, the best of 10. I do think that a second and a final referendum, which would be, which would come into law, as the final say, is fair.
Okay, but don't you think it's better if we simply do what the British people asked, leave the European Union, get a second referendum, and then as soon as that's decided upon and we have all the options on the table, then we just simply continue?
But why do we have to wait till we leave? Why can't we, right now Parliament is stalling, why can't we ask for an extension, and in that extension time have a second referendum?
Because usually it's accepted that the government should implement the policy that they go to on a manifesto such as leaving the European Union. With any election, they usually are expected to implement the manifesto. And the last manifesto the Conservative Party had was for leaving the European Union. They had a referendum on it. Surely they should do that and then have a second referendum, like we do with any democratic decision, have another decision afterwards.
Well, I would like to have a second referendum, a final say, with all of the facts that we have. Okay. I know tonight they're going to be debating whether or not to have a no deal. I think a no deal would be very bad for this country. As I say, I will stick by my party line that I very much would like to have a second referendum, give people the final say, and I will be marching with my friends and family members at the 23rd of March.
Okay, thank you very much for your discussion. Thank you. Thank you.
Ask a quick question.
I hope that was okay. You were very good.
Thank you.
Cheers. Can I just ask a quick question? Not related to politics. Cool. I just wanted to ask, Are you going to watch the Liverpool-Bayern game tonight?
Oh, Liverpool versus Bayern Munich?
Yeah, second leg.
Well, I think I'm going to be here with my friends.
All right,
so I don't know if I'll get
out
to catch it,
campaigning
but-
hard still. Okay.
But good luck to both teams. I hope
Right. Yeah. Well,
may the best team win.
all right, lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time.
Do it again. Pop your head out.